Very good morning to you all. Good afternoon or good evening, depending on where you are joining from. You're welcome to our Packet Tracer Lab activities, where we pick certain topics and we look at hands-on skills on it. Particularly today, we want to look at a topic, router on a stick. Okay, and that topic has to do with inter-VLAN routing. Now, the concept of inter-VLAN routing is to say you have systems that belongs to different VLAN. VLAN is virtual local area network. So you have computers that belongs to different VLANs. Now, a VLAN is totally independent from another. For instance, if you see from this topology by my left, you'll see that this is on a VLAN 10, and the IP address is 172.170.0 network. Then this PC is on VLAN 30. The IP address is 172.170.30.0 network. So you see, these two systems are completely independent of each other, even though they are connected to the same switch. In the configuration of the switch, we have already separated them. We have created the various VLANs. If you want to know how to create VLANs, we have created a video on the VLANs. Okay, you can check on that. Now, the inter-VLAN routing is to say, since this guy in VLAN 30 cannot talk to this guy in VLAN 10, how do we make them talk to each other? So one way to make them talk to each other is to do what we call inter-VLAN routing. We do a configuration where this VLAN can be able to cross over and talk to another VLAN. And to do that, there are multiple ways. But one of the way is we're going to use what we call router on a stick, which means we're going to use the presence of a router and then do some configurations on the interface of the router. And then the traffic is able to come to the router, and then the router will route the packet to the desired VLAN. Okay. So by my right here, these are the instructions that we are going to pen down for us to follow to guide us through this particular activity. So this is the addressing table where you see router 1. And then on this router 1, you see it has this interface. This interface, gigabit 0/0, then there is a dot 10. We call it a sub-interface. Then another one, gigabit 0/0, the same physical interface, dot 30. Now, the concept of router on a stick is that you have a physical interface, and then you can create multiple logical interfaces. These logical interfaces are created based on the number of VLANs that you want to interroute, okay? Okay, so we have their network addresses and their subnet mask. The objective of this activity is to add VLANs to a switch, configure the sub-interfaces, and then actually test connectivity with the inter-VLAN routing. Okay, so let's look at the scenario. In this activity, you will configure VLAN and inter-VLAN routing. You will then enable trunk interface and verify connectivity between the VLANs. Okay, a trunk interface is an interface that carries and conveys all different VLAN information. Okay, now to do that, there are instructions. Part 1, let us add VLAN to a switch, right? Create VLAN on switch 1. Now to create VLAN 10 and VLAN 30 on switch 1, right? We have an activity in the last class we did for the creation of VLAN. So for the purpose of this activity, I'm just going to go ahead and create the VLAN. Okay, so let me come in here. This is switch 1, enable to take me to privilege mode, figure terminal to take me to global configuration mode. And then we have to create VLAN 10. Then I say VLAN 10. All right. And then I give it a name that I want to give it. Probably in this case, I will say name, faculty, staff. So just give it a name, all right? Or I will just leave it as it is. If I want to remove the name, I can just say no name. You understand? If I say no name, it removes the name. But what happens if I don't give it a name? What happens is that the router will automatically give it a name. So for instance, let me still go to VLAN 30, VLAN 30. So if I don't put it a name, let's do show VLAN. Now you will see that it will show you the VLAN and it has created a default name for it. For instance, can you see this as VLAN 10? Then see the default name it has created. It will create VLAN then 0010. Yeah, VLAN 30, then VLAN 0030. Okay, we have created in the previous activity how we can actually create the VLAN without with their names and whatever. But I just needed to show you that if you don't create the VLAN name, it actually does that. So for the purpose of this is just to create the VLAN. So we've created VLAN 10 and VLAN 30, and step 2 says assign VLAN ports. So configure interfaces fast Ethernet 06 and fast Ethernet 11 as access ports and assign VLAN. Okay, so assign the ports connected to PC1. PC1 is connected to port 11 and PC3 is connected to port 6, right? So look at it here. This is PC1 and this is port 11. This is PC2, this is port 6. Okay, so I can now sit here. Then I will see interface fast Ethernet 0/11. I will enter the interface. Switch port mode access. Because the instruction, let's see what the instruction is telling us to do. That we should make it access port, right? Where is it? It says, yes, as access port. Can you see? And assign VLAN. Okay. So switch port mode access. Let's continue. Switch port mode access. We're on port 11, right? Which is this port here. This one here. So we access it to VLAN 10. So then switch port access VLAN 10. Right? So then we exit, we go to interface fast Ethernet 0/6, convert it to access port, switch port mode access. Okay. And switch port access VLAN what? 30. Right? Very good. So the moment we have done VLAN 30, you see it begins to come up there. Now, it says we should do show VLAN brief. Use the command show VLAN brief here so that we can see the status of our VLAN. Okay, so I exit, I go to my privilege mode and I say show VLAN brief. Okay, so you see the VLAN 10 we've created, see the default name that comes with it. See the VLAN 30, see the default name. If we wanted, we can create the names with it. But interestingly, you see port 6 have been assigned to VLAN 30, port 11 has been assigned to VLAN 10, right? This is it. Then let's test connectivity, right? Testing connectivity from PC1 to PC3. Were the pings successful? Why did you get this result? So let's find out. Let's find out. This is PC1. We're going to ping PC3. What is the IP address of PC3? bring it here. See, it's 172.170.30.10. So let me come in here and then ping 172.170.30.10. Right? And let's see. So you see, I'm getting it first timeout, right? Traffic is not going through. In fact, let me even put it on simulation mode. If I run it again, so that you can see. So if I do it on simulation mode, this one, you see, this comes to the switch makes a broadcast, and then it could not go anywhere. Right, so you see, generate again, go to the switch, so it makes it broadcast, it's not going anywhere. You see, question is, you see, the thing is just timing out. It's not going anywhere. Why? It is not going anywhere. That's the question that we have been asked. And the reason is that we have created VLANs. Okay, we have separated all the connections in the switch. Put these ones on a different VLAN. This is on a different VLAN. And we have not configured router on a stick. We have not enabled them to be able to route across. Okay. Part 2, let us configure sub-interface. Remember, we said on the router, we're going to use the physical interface and configure the sub-interfaces, which will be used to do the routing. So step 1 says configure sub-interfaces on router 1 using the 802.1 encapsulation. Okay. So how do you create that? You go to the physical interface. Then all you need to do is just put a dot, then the VLAN number. Go to the physical interface, then you just put a dot and then the VLAN number. The next thing is you do the encapsulation.1Q, then the VLAN number. Okay, VLAN number. Then you now assign the IP address for that. So let's do that. So come in the router, enable privilege mode, configure terminal. Then I need to go to the interface mode. First of all, let me do show IP interface brief. Let me see the ports that are there. Can you see? This is the port that is there. And it is what? It is down, administratively down. This is the gigabit port that is also there. No IP address assigned. It's gigabit down. And there are no sub-interfaces. Nothing is there. Okay. So I'll say interface gigabit 0/0. Then I will now go to the VLAN, which is the .10. You see, once I go to this interface, you see my prompt change to sub-interface. Then I'll say encapsulation .1Q, then the VLAN number, that's VLAN 10 that we're using, right? Then I press enter. Then I now assign an IP address. IP address 172.170.10.1. The subnet mask 255.255.255.0. Okay. So I have created this sub interface. The next thing is I do the same thing for the next sub interface. So if I want to do inter-VLAN routing across 10 VLANs, I will have to do the same thing for all the VLANs. So on the same interface, I will come to interface G0/0 dot now what? 30. Okay. Encapsulation.1Q and 30. Okay, then IP address. We have the IP address on the table here. Can you see? It's going to be this one. Okay. The 172.17.30.1. Subnet mask 255.255.255.1. Press my enter. Okay. So, right. Now, I need to enable the interface. Okay. Let's see. More shutdown. Go to interface G0/0. Shut down. Okay. Come in. Right. So we are supposed to test the connectivity. So let's check the IP addresses. PC3 is 172.170.30.10. So I will come to PC1, which is in VLAN 10 now. You see, we had tested it earlier on, and we had a request timeout, right? So let's do it again. Let's see what we're going to get. Let me put it on simulation mode. Then, okay. All right, so this time around it has come to the switch. Let's see whether it will fail like the other one. See, it's failed. Coming again. Okay, comes to the switch, and let's see, it has failed. So, which means there is a problem. We have to come back again and look. So we have created the VLANs, we have created the sub interface. Okay, we have created the VLAN, we have created the sub interface, and we are testing and it didn't go. So what do we need to do in order to make it function? All right, so let me show you what exactly we're going to do now. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is do troubleshooting to find out where the problem is and why our traffic is not going through. Okay, so to do that, let me go to my addressing table, which is this guy here. Router 1, we have gigabit 00.10. This is the IP address. This is the subnet mask. Route, and then for sub interface 30, this is the subnet mask. So let's verify to make sure that that is correct before we proceed. So if I say show IP interface brief, let me put it this way. So I've extended it this way. Now, let's see, gigabit 00/10, 172.170.10.1, which is this guy here. Then this one, gigabit 00.30. Oh, you see, it is unassigned. So we need to assign this IP address and this subnet mask to this interface. Okay, so I go to configure terminal, interface G0/0.30, then IP address. What is the IP address? Let me shift this one this way. IP address is 172.17.30.1, and then 255.255.255.0. Okay, then right, so we have assigned the IP address. So what other problem do we think we have? This is supposed to be an access point. This link for this switch is supposed to be an access point. This port here is supposed to be access port, and this port is supposed to be trunk port. So let us check. Come to my switch. Right, so enable show running config. All right, so let us check the interface. Fast Ethernet 0/6. All right, the switch port is access and is on VLAN 30, correct? Let's go to 11. Fast Ethernet 11. Switch port is what? Access. So think. Then the next one is gigabit 0/1. Gigabit 0/1. You see, we have not made it as a trunk. Okay. So let us config terminal. Interface gigabit 0/1. So switch port mode is what? Trunk. Okay, good. So now you see it is going to turn green very soon. So since it is trunk now, let us now see if we can, we have verified all these things. So the next thing, let's see if we can run a ping and see whether it's gonna work. Okay. Still trying to initialize, still amber. Oh, it's green. Very good. So I come to my simulation here, and then come to my PC. Command prompt. We were running the same ping, right? So the same command. So let us see what happens, whether it will fail again or whether it will pass through. All right, goes to the switch. Oh, this time around. So you see the inter-VLAN routing, the packet did not go to the next switch immediately. It goes to the router. The router is going to route it and then bring it back to the switch to the, and then it will come to the router and then come back and go to VLAN 30. And you see, then there will be a reply back to, can you see? It has ticked it. So we have done that. Okay. So that is how the inter-VLAN routing works. Okay. Okay. So it goes to VLAN 30. Then come back. So you see, initially we were doing and it was not able to go through, but now it's going through. So that is in fact, before we just close, so you can come here and even check, you can even check the, what do you call it? The details, the OSI model. It will tell you the layers. If you come to the inbound, it will give you the IP header. If you go to the outbound, the decapsulation process will give you that. Okay. So this is how to create inter-VLAN routing, particularly router on a stick. All right. Thank you for being part of today's class. See you in the next class. Bye.